So today we're going to talk about lifting and specifically the squat. And it's probably one of the harder lifts to master. I'd say bench press is probably the hardest. And I remember before I met Craig, when I used to train with a lot of other coaches and PTs, probably the most I ever squatted was 60 kilos, and I did it pretty poorly. And actually, when I think back to it now, there wasn't ever one coach until I met Craig that actually taught me how to squat correctly. And why is it so important? And why do we always bang on about these three big lifts? Well, these three big lifts, the squat, the bench, and the deadlift, will give you so much bang for your buck. They're the ones that are going to help you build the most muscle. And why is muscle good? We're always talking about muscle, muscle, muscle. Well, muscle, if you have a kilo of muscle and a kilo of fat, muscle is going to take up much less space, even though they weigh the same. So you're going to look better if you have more muscle, but you're also going to be able to eat more, which is really, really awesome. And you're not going to have to spend hours and hours and hours training in the gym and killing yourself with cardio like I used to do. And I think so many of the women who are in this page do. And it probably wasn't until I met Craig that I realized how much of a skill lifting is and all the little intricacies of it and all the little things that contribute to a good squat, a good bench, a good deadlift. And, people talk about getting stronger, but what they don't realize is you really do have to master some, I guess, key foundations or key skills when it comes to lifting. But once you master these, you will improve and be able to lift more and be able to lift more safely. And, once you build that body that you're happy with, like for me, for example, I wouldn't have to lift any heavier weights than I'm lifting now to maintain the body that I have. Once you've built it, it's much, much easier to sustain. I obviously try and always gradually lift heavier and program too, because I just like the challenge. But the great thing is once you've done the work, it really takes very little to maintain it. 3 days a week of an hour strength training, which is fucking awesome because obviously we're all busy and so many of you have kids and you're going to look heaps better too. And, it's not obviously just about how you look. It's about how you feel and you feeling happy in your skin. But if you get strong and you eat and be consistent with your nutrition, your body's just going to change anyway. You're not even going to have to try to look better. You will be a product of the things that you do every day and then how strong you can get. So, we just wanted to take a look actually at one of our clients who's now actually a coach, Angelina, the giraffe, as I call her, because she's got these most ridiculous long legs. But probably a very typical squat for a lot of women who just start out strength training. Do you want to share your screen, Craig? And you can take it through it. And it's incredible the progress she's made since she started with us.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think when it comes to squat, it's always kind of like one of those things where you go, okay, squat, put the bar on my back and I squat down. It's like, yep, that's pretty much what it is. And then you start learning about all the little intricacies around, hey, can you do me a huge favor? Can you shut the door?
My door, yeah.
Yeah, because I can hear myself talking down there and it's putting me off. I just feel like just going, shut up. Oh, it's me.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's better. So you first learn squat, and it's pretty straightforward. And then when you start learning all the intricacies, it can seem a little bit overwhelming because the reality is you don't always know what it actually means. You're like, I am, squatting down and but I can't get to depth, and a lot of the time it's kind of spoken about like ankle mobility and all these sort of things that, the reason why, or some people will often just sort of say, I'm not built for squatting, my mechanics, my femur length and all these sort of things are hindering me from squatting well. And then those things are just cop-outs or cruxes, obviously, for, people just not getting into the appropriate position. And I think it's really, really important to always understand where you're going wrong. And a lot of the big parts when it comes to squats is people's hip stability. They can't get down into the bottom position well enough because they just can't maintain stability past a certain point. So people go, they'll squat down and they won't get all the way down. They'll be like, oh, this is as far as I can go. This is as far as my body will let me go. But interesting enough, like, you know, every time I've done it with someone where they hold on to, you know, a pole or something, and I go, well, squat all the way down now. And it's just like they squat all the way down. So what it's sort of saying to us is, I'm like, well, passively, you can actually get through that range of motion because you've got the support there. But I'm like, when you're in that bottom position and you let go of the pole, what happens? And they're always like, oh, I feel like I'm going to fall over. So I'm like, you falling over would make you unstable, right? So we've just determined right now that's got nothing to do with your ankles or your hips or anything else, but purely the fact that you can't maintain stability past a certain point. So this is kind of a classic example. Like Angelina's pretty tall, you know, her femurs are probably as long as anyone's, if not longer, you know, and, you know, she's had, you know, 3 kids, and, you know, like all of these things that are generally kind of come up as to all the reasons why you can't potentially squat. But the reality is, once you actually address the underlying issues and you actually understand what's going on, all of a sudden it makes a pretty big difference. So when we look at the first one, we're sort of seeing she's squatting down and it's better, but like you can look at, if we pause it there, like a wrist position, elbow position, you know, foot stance, even the bar position to the point. You know, like it's just like, for me, I can look at that and I just go, yeah, you just like, just before you even start, you can see where the squat's going to go. And then obviously you see the one on the right side there, and it's just like the difference is just so much more. Like there, she's squatting, she barely kind of getting to depth, like, and people would look at them and go, well, my knees are going as far as I can, you know, like, you know, that's as far as my ankle's going to be. And I'm like, yeah, but that's got absolutely nothing to do with it. It's purely the position that you're in there. And you can see that that's her bottom position there. That looks rather strained. And then you see the bottom position here. Obviously it's a little bit from the side view. But it's just like, she's got the long legs, she's getting all the way to depth. And you can see like where the torso position is, where the knee position is. It's a little bit harder to see, but it's just vastly different. Still the same person. There's a lot more weight now, and there's just the ability to get into a better position, to breathe and brace, and to understand how to actually execute the movement in order to, you know, make the most amount of progress. So it's kind of like you could see this version of her here. And when we sort of talk about, you know, you need to get stronger at the big bang for your buck exercises, because they're going to offer you a lot in terms of, you know, muscular activation, you know, stability. And getting good at these will filter down into all the other exercises that you do. So it's just like, well, how much progress can you make when your technique is just not that efficient? And it's just like, at the end of the day, you know, strength is the expression of really good technique. So you have to get good at your technique and your execution in order to express the strength and continue expressing that building strength that you're getting, you know, based off you actually understanding how it is you actually squat, how it is you actually squat. And the more and more you do this over time, the more and more you're going to lead to better performances in the gym, and better performances in the gym leads to more muscle growth, which is ultimately what we want, because more muscle means better body composition, providing that you're adding the other equation of diet into the mix and you're being good with that as well. So,
which also means that you can look heaps better and train less. Train less. Like I think about back to the days when I used to train 7 days a week, and I think, fuck, how on earth did I do that? You know, like now I do my 3 days and it's heaps. And, you know, I'd spend an hour and a half in the gym, depends on how much I yap away. But which is so awesome for busy moms or anyone who's busy, you know. And if you miss a session, you know, before I'd be so afraid that I was going to like stack the weight on, whereas now I miss a session and it doesn't matter. You know, like if I need an extra day's recovery, it doesn't matter. And it's just such a better way to train. And it is actually really exciting learning how to squat and deadlift and bench correctly. And, you know, once you actually nail those movements, and then you can add weight and you feel much more comfortable under the bar. And that's when your body's going to change, is when you actually add that weight and you get much stronger. You can see there she's squatting 60 and it looks 10 times better than when she was squatting 40 kilos.
Yeah, exactly. It's, you know, the intensity's gone up, the weight of what she's lifting, the execution. So the muscle recruitment is going to be more efficient because of how she's actually doing it. And all that is going to allow her to do more sets with heavy weights, more sets, more reps with heavy weight is all, when you look at like the, you know, the scientific principles of strength training, it's just like you need volume, you need overload, you need to be able to be hitting the target muscles, and you need to do a lot more than what you were doing previously. So if you're ticking all those boxes, your body's going to change. But often we see is, you know, technique is the fundamental reason that lets people down, because ultimately, you know, when you look at a squat, you know, the people can't squat and they're like, oh, I'm just not very strong in my legs, but you put them on a leg press and it's just like, well, all of a sudden they can leg press, you know, 200 kilos, you know, for multiple reps. All right. And that's because it's like, well, it's not your legs that aren't strong, like your power muscles, you know, your quads, your glutes, etc., are all working fine. It's just the stability muscles that are letting you down. And people go, well, couldn't I just leg press then? If I don't know how to squat, couldn't I just leg press? Yeah, you absolutely could do that, but then you'll only ever be limited to doing leg presses. So I'm like, if you just want to leg press for the rest of your life, have at it. I think you'll get pretty fucking bored, and it's not particularly exciting hitting a PB on a leg press as opposed to hitting a PB on a squat. But the fact is, the squat is just going to offer you so much more, especially when you're doing a low bar. You get a lot more glutes involved. You get a lot more kind of hamstring stability, a lot more quads. You know, you got to get a lot more upper back tightness, you know, core bracing. All of these things are going to come into play that you're just not going to get, you know, on a fixed machine. And all of that is going to contribute to you becoming, you know, that stronger version of yourself, you know, developing better physique, etc. So, you know, that's why when we look at our system and our tiered system, it's like squat, bench, deadlift, tier 1 movements. You get good at those, because then if you get good at those, everything else becomes really easier. So it's like, you know, if you get good at your back squat, your leg press is going to be fine. Your lunges are going to be good. You know, like your front squats are going to be good. You know, those things don't get good. That those things don't make the others good. Like those things don't make your squat and your front. It only goes one way. So get good at those. Everything else will good, and that's what's going to lead to productive training. Productive training leads to better development. So that's it. I thought I'd just show you that. Some squats on a Friday night.
And you probably think, well, how do I actually learn that? You know, and Craig, we've been doing this for about 4 years now. And over the last 2 years, we've really, I should say, Craig has really refined the system that he has inside Win at Life to teach women how to lift. So, you know, Angelina's learned all of that online through a 4-level foundation program where we bring you in, we assess where you are currently, and then it's all competency based. So, you know, you start off with very basic exercises. We do a lot of stability work to build up any areas of weakness in those sort of 3 key areas when it comes to the squat. And you'd be amazed at how much, like you can see it, Angelina, how much difference that's made over time. And she'll not only get like stronger,
you can see it there in her body composition as well. Like she doesn't look like the same person anymore, you know, like it's, you know, like her body's changed, you know, and it's just, and it's all it is. Like, it's like you know, her getting better at the lifting has improved her performance, not just going in and just doing a random bunch of exercises and going, oh, I'm so sore, my legs are so sore and I'm so out of breath and all that. It's just like, yeah, who cares? Like, are you actually improving your performance? Because that's really, at the end of the day, what's going to change your body composition, not the other thing.